Thank you very much. From the doom and gloom and despondency, hopefully you can get down to looking at fundamentally a sound company this evening. You've got to be out there pounding the pavements even when times are bad, so that people remember you during the good times. So hopefully I can interest you in investing in CUEYY Resources. I've been with the company for about 14 months now, and we're actually at a crossroads, I suppose. Been in existence for about 20 years, and we're just in the process of drilling 2 exploration wells simultaneously, which will probably define the future path of the company. So it's a great time to understand the story and understand where we're going and what might happen to us in the next few weeks. So the usual disclaimer. So for those of you who don't know very much about Q, we're about 160 million market cap, goes up and down a bit. And what's been quite strange, in response to these 2 exploration wells which we're drilling at the moment, there's been very little movement in our share price. That just shows how depressed people are out there at the moment. But we're fundamentally a sound company. We've got 2P oil reserves of almost 3 million barrels. All those are in production. And we've got gas reserves of about 20 million barrels of oil equivalent. Some of those are in production and some are static resources. The ones in Papua New Guinea are static resources. We've got about $42 million in the bank. Our bank balance grows as the Australian dollar goes down because we're storing US dollars. And we've got 2 major shareholders. Todd Petroleum owns 27% and Singapore Petroleum, which is now owned by PetroChina, owns 16%. We're a conventional oil and gas company. We're not into the unconventional space, and I think it's fair to say there's been a lot of attention on the unconventional space in recent times. We're in conventional oil and gas resources in Papua New Guinea, where we have production and static resources. In New Zealand, where we have production and exploration. In Indonesia, where we have exploration and production. And in the Northwest Shelf. And it's the action, if I can find where the trigger is. Our wells at the moment, we're drilling 2 exploration wells. The first is in Kalimantan, and that should be at TD within the next 7 to 10 days. And that's called Naga Selatan. And we're drilling a well on the Northwest Shelf, which is operated by Woodside, called Benambu Deep 1. And that should be at TD by the end of the first week in July. So you can see there's going to be it's make or break situation, I suppose, for Q at the moment in terms of its exploration portfolio. So we're trying to move, our growth strategy is to grow very strongly over a few years to about $1 billion market cap. The reason why we set ourselves that target is in order to be a player in the oil and gas industry, you're playing with very large amounts of money. And so in order to be able to participate in a statistically significant number of exploration opportunities, you need to have a fair amount of cash flow, and you need to be of a scale in order to have a meaningful, to capture those opportunities. We're currently about the 25th largest E&P company, and we'd like to get into the top 10. We're typically, up until now, been exploration-led, and we've got an Australia-Asia Pacific focus. Our focus area isn't going to change, but we're actually moving to hold higher equity positions because we've now got cash for this first time in our history to hold higher equity positions in our projects so that we get a meaningful result when we actually have an exploration success. We've got a large and accomplished board. Many of these are from our major shareholder, Todd. So Paul Moore and Tim Dibb are both Todd executives. And Richard Tweed is the former managing director of Todd. And we have 4 other directors who are accomplished oil and gas players. Steve Crockney and Andrew Young I knew from the time when I did business with them when they were hands-on. And they've been involved in a number of small companies, in the development of a number of small companies. And Jeff King has come from a background of a lawyer providing advice to the oil and gas industry in Papua New Guinea. We only have 10 employees. Most of those are in the Rogues Gallery. Andrew Knox, our CFO, has been with the company since 1994, and we've recently recruited Keith Edwards. He was formerly with Nexus. Alex Parks, formerly of Otto, and recently we've recruited David Whittam, who's about to join us from Karoon on the 18th of June. And we've got a highly accomplished geoscience team, Andy Morrison, Andre Coffer and Barry Messant, all with many, many years of experience in oil and gas exploration. So unlike many small cap Australian resources companies, we are actually profitable. We have production income of about $50 million. About $40 million of that is growth profit. We have a strong cash balance, and we make an after-tax profit of around $20 million a year. So moving on to our projects, we've got producing assets. So we produce about 3,000 barrels of oil equivalent. You can see that the production will remain at about 3,000 barrels of oil equivalent. That's barring exploration success through to about 2016. We've got diverse production. We've got production from the Maari field in New Zealand. We've got production in Indonesia from the Oyong and Wartel fields. And we've got production in Papua New Guinea from the Southeast Gobi field. So all in all, we've got a diverse and steady cash flow over the next few years to grow the company. So if our exploration isn't successful, we've got this underpinning value from the producing assets, which buys us time to participate in further exploration. On appraisal assets, we made a discovery quite a few years ago called Juruk, and that's offshore Madura Island in Indonesia. It is potentially quite a large discovery, but it's been sitting there for quite a while now. It was tested at 7,500 barrels a day and was originally reported to be 170 million barrels recoverable. Since that time, 2 appraisal wells were drilled, and the recoverable reserve estimates tumbled from 170 million barrels down to 5 million barrels. We're hoping that the resource estimates might go the other way. We're doing some more work at the moment, and we're hoping that this work will potentially lead us to a development of Juruk, which could be as much as 50 million barrels recoverable. And we also have an interest in a large gas field in Papua New Guinea called Barakawa. Barakawa could be as much as 2.4 TCF, and the thing that's going to unlock the value there is probably the PNG LNG pipeline. You can see the PNG LNG pipeline, which is built at the moment, comes down from this area, Juha and Hydes area, down to the coast and through to an LNG plant which Exxon's building in Port Moresby. And the pipeline actually runs right through the static resources in Barakawa. So we're hoping that that might provide a commercialisation route for that field in the future. In development assets, we have a small interest, 5% interest in the Maari field in New Zealand. There's about 60 million barrels estimated ultimate recovery in this field, but we're actually doing some more appraisal work which could give us incremental oil reserves of 20 to 90 million barrels. So we've got 2 appraisal wells being drilled in the next 12 months. One will be in Manaya. This is the Manaya. The Manaya is actually producing from this horizon here, which is the Mangahewa, and there's some additional reserves down potentially in the F sands, and we're also not producing from this discovered oil in the Moki, so there's further development of the Manaya structure in Maari. And then we've also got the Maari South structure, which is again undeveloped, and then the next structure along is called Pike, which is in the next permit along, 51313, where we have a 20% equity interest, which is, has a high probability of finding oil. So on to our New Zealand exploration assets. We've talked about Maari. This produces about 12,000 barrels a day, of which we have 5% interest. But in the permit next door, 51313, there's the Pike structure, which is very likely to contain oil and gas, and we're hoping that that will be drilled late this year or early next year. But we're trying to come to an arrangement with OMV, the operator of Maari, to allow us to toll the pike fluids through the Maari asset. There's Pike, it's right next door to Maari, it's the next bump along from Maari. If we prove oil in Pike, then we increase the chances of finding further oil to the south along the spill chain. The oil is generated to the north, it flows through Maari, hopefully through Pike, and on towards the south to a prospect called Matariki. We've also got some additional data over the Tawatu and Pukeko structures, and we're quite encouraged by what we see in that. Pukeko was actually made a small oil discovery, a 40-metre oil column in the North Cape sands, and we're hopeful that might indicate there's a lead over here. It's that the deep part of the structure, and we expect there to be some up-dip potential. So now on to the exciting bit. The Mahakam Hilir permit in Indonesia, we have drilled a well called Nagi Utara. We did all this in the early part of the year, and we discovered 2 overpressured gas sands in that, at that location. There's Nagi Utara. It's next door to the Sambatan oil and gas field, which has been in production for quite a long time. And we explored deeper horizons at Nagi Utara and discovered 2 overpressured gas sands. As a consequence of some technical issues, we're unable to get a commercial flow from that, and I think we're going to go back to Nagi Utara in the near future and drill an appraisal well on that structure so that we can get a proper production test and also explore the lateral extent of the discovery. Naga Selatan's the well that we're drilling at the moment. So there's Naga Selatan down there, and we're drilling ahead at about 7,800 feet on the way to a TD of 8,000 feet. So there's going to be some news flow from that well. We're going to log the well when we get to TD in the next few days, and there should be some news flow out of that. And that's has been reported previously as an 80 BCF gas prospect in Nagi Utara and a 20 million barrel oil prospect in Naga Selatan. And both of those are significant discoveries for Q, as we have a 40% equity interest in the permit. And the other excitement at the moment is in the Northwest Shelf. Q has 5 contiguous permits in the Northwest Shelf. The one that is drilling at the moment is the Benambu Deep prospect. It's been drilled by Woodside, and a few weeks ago we announced that BHP farmed into WA 389P. We're left with 35% free carried interest in the permit. BHP took 40% of the permit from Woodside, 65, leaving Woodside with 25%, and BHP are carrying the entire cost of drilling that well. It's a game changer for Q. It's been reported at about 1.5 TCF prospect, and so if we can make a discovery there at the 35% equity level, it's going to make a significant difference to the company. You'll note the proximity of the Northwest Shelf gas project. So that's the Rankin-Goodwin complex with the pipelines to shore, and that's what we expect the commercialisation route for Benambu Deep should it be a success. We also have, it's not really just the success in that well, but it will prove up a particular play type that we're looking at, channel sands in the channel sand play, and there are a number of similar prospects around. You can see that we've got a Catarina and Movida to the north, and we've got one called Maxwell, which is in WA 360P. So if we start to find gas in Benambu Deep, there is a lot more prospectivity in our permits. So as I said, Benambu Deep's drilling at the moment. We should have a result by the end of the first week in July. We were surprised when we announced the BHP's farm into the permit to pay 100% of the well cost in return for 40% equity in the permit. We were surprised that it didn't have any impact on our share price whatsoever, so that shows the doom, gloom and despondency that's out there at the moment. But it is a very large gas prospect, somewhere around 1.5 TCF, and it would be commercialised very quickly, I think, by Woodside, who are currently aggregating gas for additional trains at Pluto and also potentially the North West Shelf gas project. So we will have a result very soon on that, and keep your fingers crossed. So for quite a small company, we've got a lot of activity. We've drilled the well in Naga Utara. We're drilling the well in Naga Selatan. We've completed a development called Wartel this year, which was the drilling of 2 development wells and the commissioning of an offshore gas platform. So that's going to improve our cash flow significantly in the second half of this year. We did an infill well in the Oyong development, and so we've increased the production there from 2,000 to 3,000 barrels a day. We're drilling the Benambu Deep well at the moment, and I think if Benambu Deep is a success, then there'll be incremental activity, appraisal activity in the same permit, but also it'll encourage other operators such as Apache and WA 359 and 409, where we have an interest, to bring forward their drilling activity. We've got appraisal coming up in Mari, which has the potential to increase or at least double the estimated ultimate recovery if in the success case, particularly with the F sands in Manaya. So we've also got potential development at Barakay, where throughout this period we've got good cash flow and good production. So, as I see it, we're a good bet at the moment. There's not much downside for the stock. Certainly the way the market is at the moment, I don't see much downside because, if you do a discounted cash flow on our existing production, you get our current share price. With exploration success at either Benambu Deep or Naga Selatan, you could see a significant improvement in our share price in the near term. So I think it's our strong fundamentals and our near-term activity that should differentiate us as an investment option for people who are interested in investing in resources companies. So thank you very much for listening to my presentation.